I look for every issue in the world that matters to God. It matters to me as a human being, even if it wasn't a person of faith. And I ask myself, what would Jesus do in that moment? What would he say in that moment? And I try to be that. So I'd say give yourself permission to do what you love when you love God completely.
Is there a way to prioritize compassion issues, the environment, this agenda, that agenda, social issues, justice issues? Is there a way to prioritize them like we prioritize certain traffic rules?
Your thoughts on that?
I think my initial thought would be a positive one. Like growing up in the church, I think there's inset a certain level of values of like just the idea of tithing, that there are parts of things that you receive that are not yours. And I do think, and I talk to friends who are of different religions or different backgrounds who just are constantly going, so you give how much back to the church? And they do, and they make you listen to music? And that's what they do. I don't understand. You're like, you'll get me to go to church, but you'll never get the 10% of my wealth. And I do find that in church culture, I think in our faith, there is so much of a generosity culture inset in there. I think you can take that out and into the world, the mainstream side, and going, okay, what the church does teach you is 10% is not generosity. That's what I've devoted back into to building something beautiful. Beyond that is a sacrifice. And I want to achieve something that's beyond a generous perspective. And so I think for me, it's like I can look at the world and go, I know for me there's a calling on my life to give beyond just the church, to help other people grow in whatever facet that I find interesting and that I think I can help. And I think that roots and stems from my relationship with Jesus. I think a lot of times culture has a hard time giving away the things that are given to them. I stop at the red light because I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't stop, right? But I don't give to God because I'm afraid of what's going to happen. I give to God because I know that he's instilled in me a desire to give back to him what is already his.
One thing that we were kind of talking behind the scenes was how the beginning of COVID, it was crazy, and people immediately went for their like reptilian brain of survival mode, toilet paper. And
I forgot all about that.
I remember
People just hoarding toilet paper and
there are some
paper
people,
towels and everything else, yeah.
Yeah, and I just found it odd that like we as our humans just kind of deteriorated this survival mode where we take more than what we need and we stop thinking about the whole. And what is that about us that we kind of fall back into place and then we kind of go, okay, no longer am I going to be generous because like I didn't get, no one offered me multiple rolls of toilet paper. You know what I mean? And
What are they doing with all that toilet paper now?
I think ashamed. I think they're ashamed.
But it does show you that hoarding is motivated by fear. And it just makes you wonder if, in the end, greed is more driven by fear. And then
So do you think that generosity is freedom?
yeah, I think people who are truly generous live in the highest level of freedom. And that until you live in freedom, you really don't understand the power of generosity. Yeah, when you're afraid, your natural posture is greed. You just start hoarding toilet paper. But when you're generous, you realize, I'm going to make sure there's toilet paper enough for other people, and I'll buy what I need, but make sure there's enough for others. And so I think that's one of the things that is an important conversation. It's not just about compassion fatigue or whatever that syndrome may describe. It's really about having a higher value for humanity than you do simply for yourself.
Is stop caring, is that part of the answer? Like that sounds kind of like the most logical,
There's
like
the
yin
best
and yang.
application. That's
Right there. Like, totally yin and yang. Like, is part, I know it's not biblical.
So Aaron's saying be more generous.
Be more generous. You're like, look, let's just stop.
Yeah, just
stop.
put things in stoppers to keep yourself from overdoing it. Like,
Well, here's
Go
the
ahead,
truth is that we all stop caring about certain things.
Of course.
We just don't admit it to ourselves.
Of course.
Oh, hey. Right.
And you don't care about everything, even though everything may still be important. You have to make sure that your relationship with God is so authentic and so intimate that you know you're doing what you're created to do. And what you're created to do may not be what someone else is created to do. What you're supposed to care about may not be what someone else is supposed to care about. So here's my theory on the red lights.
Okay.
Red lights work because you know that your turn is coming.
Interesting.
And you stop because you know at some point everyone else has to stop and you get to go. And I think this is the way compassion works best. You need to realize that you're going to get a green light, but you have to let other people have their green light. And so if you have a particular issue that matters most to you, you need to, I need to be able to celebrate that for you, but you need to not be able to, not feel like you can impose it on me.
There you go.
Like my wife, Kim, is passionate about the nation of Malawi. And during COVID, she's raised $750,000 to build a school, a public school in the middle of Malawi that will be the premier school of that country.
Beautiful.
Now, I don't have the same passion as she does. I mean, she's on phone calls, she's in meetings, she's been there for 5 years straight. And the reason I know she actually has compassion is because she has action.
There it is.
I have interest, I have respect, but I don't have the same compassion. And I don't have the same passion for it. And in those 5 years, I haven't gone yet. That's something that I know is important, but it isn't in my core compassion.
Right.
And I can live my life feeling guilty that I don't care about the same thing she cares about as deeply as she cares about it. Or I can celebrate that she has that passion. See, how about if we're all supposed to be unique, that we're all different, and that in the same way that we have, different color skin and different color eyes and different heights and weights and intellect and everything, how about if we're all supposed to be unique in our passions as well?
Wow.
And it doesn't mean we're indifferent to other issues, but it means that we don't give the same time, energy, and resources to those issues. Yeah. And, for me, the church is central. Like I give so much of my time and energy and life to building the church because I think the greatest gift that God gives us is not only a relationship to Him, but a relationship to each other. And that human community is something that only the church knows how to create at this level of depth and intimacy and texture. And so I've given my life to that. But it doesn't mean I don't care about other things. It just means that there is a priority. So what I would say is first, love God with every part of your being. And then pay attention to those places in culture, those issues where your voice can actually be a voice of Jesus in that middle of that moment. If an issue has the impact to help people come to know the beauty of who Jesus is, if my silence will make Jesus silent in that moment, I will speak.
Okay.
See, if my voice can help people realize, no, Jesus cares about you and cares about this issue, then I speak. See, I see my voice as not singularly my voice. I see my voice as an important aspect of making sure people know that God is present in that moment. And that's how I prioritize my life. And so there's a lot of issues that I care about, but they're issues that, in a sense, Christians care about a lot. And if I give my voice to that, I'm just getting the affirmation of Christians. But people without Jesus, they don't understand why I care about that issue so much. I look for every issue in the world that matters to God. It matters to me as a human being, even if it wasn't a person of faith. And I ask myself, what would Jesus do in that moment? What would He say in that moment? And I try to be that. So I'd say give yourself permission to do what you love.
At TBN, our mission is to use every available means to reach as many individuals and families as possible with the life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for helping make the gospel of grace go around the world.
Without you, we couldn't do it. God bless you.